Hey y'all, it's my birthday.
It's my mother birthday. You know it's your birthday.
I've been reflecting a lot, so today I'm sharing 30 things I've learned over the years. To be clear, there are many life lessons, but I'm only sharing 30. We don't got all day, okay? These are in no particular order, but let's just dive right in. I forgot my scrunchie. I don't feel like getting it. I'm gonna take it out with this olive oil. I'm gonna attempt to do this. Every year it starts off ridiculous. There's issues going on with my laptop. My back hurts. I got icy hot on. Anyway, I'm gonna be talking while I take these mini braids out. I wanted them to be regular size braids, but then it turned out into being mini braids, and I was tired of doing mini twists. But anyway, so I'm gonna be doing 30 things I've learned over the years. So number one is find your core values and apply it to everything. I'm gonna be looking down at my notes. I learned that a few years ago by my friend who was also my life coach at the time. She asked me, like, what are your core values? And I was like, what? I haven't heard of that term before. So it's basically things that you stand by, like things you believe in. And she told me to list at least 5, and then you apply it to everything. So whether that's friendships, relationships, where you work, family, apply it to everything. One core value of mine is integrity. Where I was at the time was not a good space. So after I had figured out my top 5 core values, I looked at where I was working. I looked at my friendships. I looked at my relationships. I saw what aligned and I saw what didn't. And from there, I had to make the decisions to act accordingly, which it took some time for me to do that. But I eventually did it. Number 2, people pleasing doesn't benefit you. It's okay to say no. And that's something that took a long time for me to understand. I was definitely a people pleaser growing up. It was hard to get out of that, and it was really hard for me to say no to people. And when you do that, it only benefits the other person. It doesn't benefit you. So once I realized that, I made the steps to cut that out. It takes time to recover from that. Well, I will say, when you start to stop people pleasing, people are going to have a problem with it. If you say no, they're going to be like, what you mean no? Or they're going to catch an attitude. You've changed. You're not the same. Yeah, I'm not supposed to be. You're supposed to change. But anyway, number 3, live your life for you. In other words, you don't have to follow the script given to you. So that's like a script being given to you. That's something I learned last year, where pretty much a script is either given to you or you assume a script. Like, you're a character, and because that was given to you, you're following that, but that's not really who you are. So live your life for you. That kind of goes with the people pleasing. You need to live life for yourself. So people might want you to be a doctor. They want you to be whatever, but that's not what you want to do. So at the end of the day, you should do what's best for you, because it's your life and you have to live with that. And I didn't want to live my life for others. I wanted to live it for myself. Some examples. Well, we can get into that. An example would be my hair. I don't know how this is going to turn out. A lot of people wanted me to keep it straight, but I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to get perms anymore, or relaxers, whatever you want to call it. I don't want that. I don't want to keep putting chemicals in my hair. And I'm not gonna, I don't care who does and who doesn't. It's just that I don't want to do that. So it shouldn't be a big deal. Another one, the things that I like, my clothes. There was a time where I was kind of tomboyish, and I got comments on that. So people are going to comment on a lot of things about you, but you have to learn to just ignore it. Like, that's why I can take criticism pretty well, but I'm going to get into that in another point. So basically, there's this obsession with a lot of people about looking good externally but not internally. And I got a lot of people commenting on my outer appearance, but people weren't really asking me how I was internally. Because when I'm looking a mess, that's because I feel a mess. That's because I'm going through a lot. And sometimes it's hard for me to like express that. But instead of being asked, are you okay? It's, you look like crap. Gee, thank you. Thanks a lot. No matter what people say, just live your life for you. Because if I was living the life that somebody else wanted me to have, I wouldn't be happy with myself. I would be miserable. And so I'm glad that I took a step back and figured out what I wanted to do with my life. And that's what I'm going to do. Life is hard, but it's my life, and I am figuring it out. Let me clarify that. Number 4, what you tolerate teaches people how to treat you. Okay, since I've started my healing journey, which has been about 3 years now, I reflected a lot, and I still do. But when I was first into it, I got mad at myself for the things that I allowed and the things that I tolerated. And I got mad at the people who did that to me, but then I had to think about it. Like, you tolerated it, so. And what you allow, you're basically telling the person what they can get away with. So, people treating you like crap, and you're like, you easily forgive them, or you push it to the side because you tend to avoid conflict or whatever. They're like, okay, I can get away with that. Let me try this. Okay, I can get away with that. Let me try another thing. So whatever you continue to tolerate, they're going to keep trying you. If you don't want people to disrespect you, you got to put your foot down, which is not easy, especially if you don't like conflict. You do whatever you can to avoid that. And if you're like that, you're going to have to get out of that. And when you do that, be ready for comments that say that you're rude and disrespectful. Just saying. Get ready. Okay. Number 5, validate yourself. Okay. Our experiences sometimes make us feel like we need to seek validation from other people, but it's best to get that validation from yourself. You're not really going to believe what someone else says until you believe it within yourself. I've spoken about this before with social media, how you're seeking validation from people you don't even know. The likes, the comments, the shares, the views, all of that stuff. And, it's good to get validation from other people. Like, it's nice to hear a compliment. And when somebody acknowledges and recognizes you and your qualities, but it's not gonna make you feel as good as if you're validating yourself. Because somebody might compliment you, but you might not believe them because you don't believe it in yourself. You might think that they're lying. You might not know how to take a compliment because you don't believe it, but then you also have to figure out why you feel that way. Why do you feel like you need to seek validation from other people? And oftentimes you end up seeking that validation from the wrong people. And yes, that's messy, but you can overcome that. Number 6, social media is not your diary. Now, duh, right? But a lot of people, what's the first thing they do when they get mad? They grab their phone, they type in with the Twitter fingers or Facebook or Instagram, they go live, whatever. Get a journal, get a diary, or just get a piece of paper or just say it out loud. Now, if I ever got mad about something, I would post it privately, but it was still vague. Like I never gave all the details. So if I had an experience, like I can look at my memories and because I pretty much documented my experience at that job I had that was very, very traumatic. And I noticed I was always tired. And this is me looking back on it. Every post, I was tired, I was annoyed, I wasn't getting any sleep, I got sick a lot, I gained weight, it was stress weight, and I was very, very unhappy. And sometimes I would mention things that people said, but it was still vague. And looking back at it now, it's like, I'm glad I documented it, but it's something that I should have wrote in a journal. And sometimes people do that because they feel like they can't talk to people. So they share it online, trying to find a community that will understand what they're going through. So I get it, but like, be very careful with that. But it's better to just write it in a journal or say it out loud just to get those emotions out. And be careful who you share that information with. Social media is not your diary. Do not go on there acting the fool, because you might be angry in that moment, but then once you get over it, you most likely will regret what you said. Number 7, think before you speak. Okay, sometimes people just talk without thinking. And then there are people who just like hearing themselves talk, and those people are annoying to me. Like, you're talking, but nothing you're saying is making sense, and you just like to hear yourself. But I don't want to hear you. But what I'm saying is, you need to think about what you're trying to say and how you want it to come off before you say it out loud. Because how you may have intended on it sounding might not be the way that it comes out. So you should think before you speak. Okay. Number 8, karma is real. There's 2 types of karma. There's good karma and bad karma. And I've experienced both. And I believe everybody experiences both. But you only really hear about bad karma. But there's also a good version as well. Number 9, process your thoughts. Do not project. Okay? So one of the things that I like to do is process my thoughts, because if I go through something, I don't want to just vent automatically. I want to process what I'm thinking so that it makes sense to me before I share it with somebody else. Usually sometimes when people are saying stuff, they're projecting what they're thinking about themselves or about somebody, but it's not intended for you. Even though it feels like it is, it's really not. I feel like there is constructive criticism and projective criticism. Like I mentioned earlier, how I'm able to take critiques quite well because I've been criticized so much. Constructive criticism I actually like constructive criticism because it helps me. But if it's projective criticism, then I get annoyed. Then I don't want to hear that. Because sometimes people just say stuff and it's like, okay, where did that come from? Number 10, everyone enters your life for a reason. All right, we can get into this one. There are different types of people. What is the saying? A reason, a season, or a lifetime. And there have been some good people and some bad people, but they each taught me something. We have an example of a toxic person and an example of a positive person. So a toxic person triggered me a lot, but they taught me what not to tolerate and to address those triggers and to make sure that I know how to prevent people like that from entering my life again. And people might say I'm harsh, how I'm so quick to cut people off, but it's not harsh, and we can get into that later. I don't play that. And a positive person, you learn from them as well, you grow with them. When you hang out with them, you feel recharged, versus with a toxic person, you feel drained. I don't know if you guys believe in types of energy, but yeah, I do. There's good energy and there's bad energy, and sometimes there are people called energy vampires where they literally drain the energy from you. And especially sometimes just their presence drains you. That's an energy vampire, and I've experienced people like that, and it's not a good feeling. Once I feel that, I know they gotta get out. They gotta get out of my life, and they can't come back in. Number 11, beauty is subjective. Now, I don't know if I'm gonna keep it like that, but basically what I'm trying to say is these beauty standards, it's okay. So first of all, there's this general very outdated beauty standard where they expect you to look like, have certain eye color, certain nose, certain lips, certain hair, and
No.
because they try to make you feel ugly. Because if you see a lot of music videos or magazines or whatever, they push certain beauty standards, but those are just trends. Do what works for you. Some of these things, they make you feel like you're supposed to look a certain way, and that's not the case at all. And that's kind of like why I stopped getting into fashion, following trends and just making you feel bad about yourself. You don't have to look like what's trending. Just figure out what works best for you and go with that. Number 12, know your worth, then add tax. All right, so boom. It's funny how people will make you think that you're worth less than what you are. It's very interesting. They see that you're worth something, but they don't want you to know that. You do bring a lot of value. You're just at the wrong place. You're just with the wrong people. Basically, go where you're appreciated, not tolerated. So number 13, work smarter, not harder. And an example of that is I worked my butt off in school, and it helped. It was great. But once you get out into the real world, you realize grades don't matter once you graduate. They don't matter. You can have straight A's across the board. Unless it's for an internship, because they like to see your transcript. They're not checking for your grades. You know what they're checking for? Experience and connections. So had I known that sooner, I would have started interning earlier. I was so focused on getting good grades. What really matters is who you're connected to, what your skills are, and your experience. Also, don't work yourself to death. Don't kill yourself for a place that will replace you in a heartbeat. Okay? Live your life. Don't wait to retire to enjoy your life. Enjoy your life while you still have it. Number 14, actions speak louder than words. Amen. Because you can say whatever you want, but I don't believe you until you show me. Because people can say whatever, but it don't mean nothing. Like, a lot of people use words that they don't really mean it. Or they'll make a promise, but they don't keep it. You could talk all you want, but if your actions aren't aligning with your words, then don't say anything. Don't talk to me. Number 15, trust your intuition. So many times I have second guessed myself, especially like a simple thing as a quiz or a test where I changed my answer at the last second, and then when we got the grades back and I see that I had it right the first time, that's a perfect example. Like, if something in your gut is telling you that something's not right, then trust that. Number 16, certain reactions are trauma responses. So I'll post some examples, but I would do that, but I didn't know why. But I eventually learned why, but I'm not gonna get into why, because that's not your business. Number 17, therapy is for everybody. Now, what did most of us hear growing up? That's for crazy people. Or just pray on it. Yes, you can pray, but that's not enough. Okay, you need, like, therapy is great, and I think if more people had it, then the world would be a better place, because a lot of people are holding a lot of anger and all types of emotions that they're not processing because they don't have the resources to deal with it. So if therapy was more affordable for everyone, then more people would have therapy. But you know why that's not. Therapy should be a right, not a privilege. And I'll leave it there. This portion is sponsored by BetterHelp. No. I'm really tired of the BetterHelp ads. Stop it. Number 18, you can't change people. They have to be willing to change. Yes. Don't try to change them, because if they're not willing to change, they're not going to. They might tell you that just to shut you up, but they're not going to change unless they actually want to do it. So don't even waste your time or energy. Number 19, when people show you who they are the first time, believe them. In other words, do not ignore red flags. Don't ignore. As I mentioned earlier, like reflecting, I was thinking back on certain friendships and whatnot, and I was just like, why was I friends with them? If I think about it, it's like, they weren't that great. Why did I do that? But I didn't know any better, that's why. But when you do know better and you still choose to ignore those signs, then that's on you. You gotta take accountability for that. Number 20, balance is key. This is something that I am learning right now. I am still trying to have a balanced lifestyle. And this is just beyond a work-life balance. This is also a balance in my routines, what I eat, and also making time for myself and doing things that I enjoy, because if I don't do that, then I lose my mind. 21, your space reflects what's going on in your mind. When my space is cluttered, that's because my mind is cluttered. I have a lot going on in my head, and then when I have a cluttered space, I can't think. So then I clean it, and it feels like a whole new space. So yeah, if you have a cluttered area, cluttered room, cluttered house, whatever, it might be because you have a lot going on and you need to process it and get to the root of it. Number 22, the only person that you need to prove something to is yourself. An example I'll use is, so the first one is being like, I would be called certain names growing up. Like, I was called certain things that weren't nice. Let's say that, right? So then I would go out my way to prove them wrong. And it was motivating, but then looking back, I realized like I shouldn't be motivated by proving somebody wrong. I should be motivated by doing what's best for me. So I stopped that, trying to prove people wrong. I'm trying to prove it to myself. I don't care what these other folk are talking about. And another one would be, I'll bring up my hair again because why not? I realized the reason that I would do, like I would show my length checks, my hair length checks since becoming natural. It was to prove my hair growth and that my hair is actually long, because I was told that it looked really short and that I ruined it since going natural. So I would take the hair out, I would stretch it, and I would pull it down and show how long it was to prove that it's not short and that it is healthy. If you've noticed, since what video was that? When I had the red hair, since then I haven't shown a length check. I still check my hair, I just don't post it. But that's just how I feel. Because I realized why I was doing that length check. And it was to prove people wrong. But I don't care to prove people wrong anymore. So I don't want to do it anymore. So I haven't. Number 23, try not to stress over what you cannot control. Girl, I'm still learning to do this. Still learning that, because as someone who has experienced anxiety for most of my life, but only recently discovered that's what I have, it's hard. It's hard to not stress about stuff and to feel anxious and to not be scared of stuff. But I'm learning not to do that as much and to face my fears. Of course, people get scared of things. No one's not afraid of anything. We all got fears. Some are just, everybody's different. But when you have anxiety, it's heightened. It's like not a normal type of, like your stress is more crazy. And when I am stressed, it messes, like it's a hormonal imbalance. And when I get stressed, it's not good. So I'm just learning what is worth worrying about and what isn't, because I don't want to stress myself out over things that I can't control anyway. You know, you can't control everything. Some things is just out of your hands. And I don't want to be controlling. I don't want to control everything, but I do want a general sense of what's going on. And sometimes not knowing stuff is scary, but you know, you just gotta live with it. Because I've learned that and what long-term stress can cause, like it can actually cause physical and mental health problems, I said, okay, no, I gotta slow down. I gotta slow down, because I'm too young to be freaking out about stuff, and it's causing all types of issues. Like even with my back hurting, I got icy hot on right now because my back really hurts. And it's not just because of carrying stuff back and forth on a crowded train and having to stand in weird angles just so everybody can fit. But it's also that I hold a lot of tension, like there's a lot of probably stress in my body. Your body does get affected when you're not mentally okay. So although I feel okay, sometimes your body will tell you, you need to chill out. I'm hoping to get a massage because I really need it. Number 24, it is okay to ask for help. And that is something that I still need to work on, because sometimes Depending on who it is, they'll make you feel like a burden when you ask for something. So after a while, you just stop asking them. So that's why I don't really ask for help sometimes. Because it's like, I don't want to hear your mouth, so I'll just do it myself. But it's something to break away from because not everybody will make you feel like that. And sometimes you do need to ask anyway because, if you can't ask them, but they always asking you, what does that say about that dynamic? Right? Is it one-sided? Then you need to reevaluate that. Number 25 to 25. There is a difference between being alone and being lonely. So you can be in a room full of people and still feel lonely. Okay? But you can be alone and actually feel pretty good. I actually enjoy my alone time. I enjoy my own company. I love doing things by myself. And I also do enjoy quality time with specific people, but I also love my alone time. That's where I get to recharge and refresh. And that's when I have time to think. That's usually where some of my best ideas come from. Some people, they get afraid of being alone and because they have to be stuck with their thoughts. But I actually like to be stuck with my thoughts so I can process it and just face it and release it. And, when you're scared of being by yourself too long, you tend to end up in situations that are not good for you. Like people who are always, they're never by themselves. They might always be in a relationship. And sometimes when you do that, you're just with somebody just to be with them, just so you don't have to be by yourself. And that's not good. When someone's spending time by themselves, that's the first thing they want to attack. But it's like, that just says a lot about you because you don't know what it's like to be alone because you're too scared to be alone because you feel like you need to be with somebody just so you don't have to be alone. See, that's what I was saying earlier about people projecting. Okay, number 26. The best way to connect spiritually is on your own journey. Now, I've also mentioned that I've been on a spiritual journey. That was after I started my healing journey. And like I'll say, I did grow up going to church, but I never really felt connected to it. And then there was one point where I didn't believe in anything. And then somehow or another, I was able to find my own way back into believing in a higher power, but I had to find it on my own terms, my own way. So I feel like that's the best way to have that personal connection spiritually rather than just listening to what other people say. Like, you can listen to them, but I feel like you won't really be able to feel it until you experience it yourself. Okay, so number 27, choose your battles. Sometimes somebody says something and you might want to tell them off real bad, but then you got to think about it and be like, you know what? It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Because there are times like people assume, like they assume that I'm not that bright. Maybe because my age or because I don't look my age. Maybe because I'm a woman. Like when people talk, like they have to dumb it down, or when people mansplain things to me, that used to really get on my nerves. But now I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna let them have it. Let them have it. Let them assume what they want. Whatever. Sometimes you just let certain things go, but other things you need to like stand your ground. Like I remember, when was that? That was last year when I made a video called Drawing SZA, but then someone put some profound comment about what art is and what art isn't and how I don't know about it. And it's like, first of all, how are you gonna say that? You don't know anything about me. Clearly you haven't watched my channel because I draw by hand. Like, I don't need to trace, but in that one I basically did in Adobe Illustrator to do something quick. But I can draw by hand. So clearly you don't watch my content. And there are comments that I see that I don't respond to. Sometimes I'll just delete them. But with that one, I just felt like I had to respond because it's like, what you're not going to do is tell me that I don't know art when I've been doing art for most of my life. Like, come on. I'm j9illustrator. Get it together. Number 28. If an apology isn't sincere, it means nothing. And you can't convince me otherwise. Now, there are moments where people do need to apologize, and so they're forced to apologize. But with me, I feel like if you're gonna apologize, you should mean it. And if you don't mean it, then keep it to yourself, because I don't want it. I don't want it. It has no value. It doesn't mean anything because you didn't mean it. So I'd rather you just say nothing and leave me alone. I don't need fake apologies. So if you don't mean it, then don't say it at all. Number 29, finally getting to the end. Holding onto grudges does more harm than good. When you hold on to a grudge, I even read about this. It does something to you. It affects your mental and eventually affects you physically. And you hold on to these grudges for years and years, but you're not really growing from it because you're stuck in that mindset. So I've learned not to hold a grudge because, people have treated me poorly, but I don't hold a grudge anymore. I processed that and I moved on. That's why, I used to have some very, let's say, I had a dark humor at one point because of the way people were towards me. But once I healed from those things, I didn't feel that darkness anymore, so let those grudges go. You don't have to bring those people back into your life. Just let go of the grudge and block them from your life. And with that, number 30, there is a difference between grudges and boundaries. Now, some people might try to say it's the same. It's not the same. It's not the same. Boundaries is something for you. It's a barrier to protect yourself. Like I mentioned earlier, I set that boundary, and if they don't listen to it, they don't respect it, then I'm no longer speaking with them. They are being cut off. They are being blocked. Now, sometimes the trash will take itself out, okay? And sometimes you gotta cut them off. Boundaries are meant to protect you. So if somebody tries to gaslight you into saying it's a grudge and blah, 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 then they're wrong. Boundaries, like I said, you block people, cut them off. You don't have to ghost them, but sometimes you don't owe them an explanation. There's some instances where people knew what they did, so you don't have to explain it to them because they know. But other situations, you can sit them down and tell them that you're done. Also, you can love people from a distance, especially if it's like family. When people say, that's still your family. You know what I say to that? Okay, and I don't care if we're family. I don't care if we're related. That doesn't mean that I have to like you. If you're a crappy person, you're a crappy person, family or not. I don't have to be loyal to somebody who's crappy. Are you serious? Some people you can love from a distance, like you don't hate them, you don't dislike them, but they're just not what's good for you. And other people you just block off completely. Like they don't need to be a part of your life at all. And again, that goes for friends, family, everybody, every single person. As you can see, I am not going to finish this anytime soon. It's already over an hour. Hopefully you got something from this video. I don't know who's gonna watch this, but I'm gonna end this here and I can show you the finished result. Thanks for watching. It just says just a phase I'm going through. And it's cold, so I was wearing my cozy Minnie Mouse robe. But yeah, I'm gonna finish this. I hope to just be relaxed and at ease on my birthday. She's calling me, I have to go. Thanks for watching, bye.